Welcome to The Artistic Spot, a podcast about art, talent, and entrepreneurship, where you are also the artist. And now, your host, Jose Rodriguez Marmol.
And this is how we welcome you to Artistic Spot, a podcast about art, talent, and entrepreneurship, where you are also the artist. Today in Artistic Spot, we have a very, very special guest. Jorge Estevez is joining us live from WFTV 9 Studios in Orlando.
Hello. Hi, you guys.
How are you? We're so excited to have you. Thank you for accepting our invitation. And just tell us about, this is the reason why Artistic Spot was born, is to let people in our audience know that you can work hard and make your wildest dreams come true.
Oh, I haven't done a thing, so I don't know how my wildest dreams came true.
So let's see. You're going to talk to us about that in just a few minutes. And this is how we welcome Jorge. So we're going to give him a round of applause because you deserve one.
Oh, wow, I like that.
There you go.
I love that.
So this is our live on our social media, on Facebook and Instagram, RJJ Design. And this is also live on Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio after we're done. And you can listen to this episode all over again anytime you want.
So right now we're live on 17 different platforms, and it's just incredible, your operation, by the way. I want to point that out.
See, it works perfectly fine.
Son de verdad que están, vaya, fantástico.
Para que veas.
Not bad. This is so good. Okay, so thank you, first of all, for having me. This is so great. Me encantaría hablar de lo que tú quieras. You tell me.
Well, let's start. So let's talk a little bit about who Jorge Estevez is.
Jorge Estevez is a kid who was born in New Jersey. Nací de padre cubano. By the way, the Spanglish thing is okay, right?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Are your listeners in Spanish or English?
We have a little bit of both.
Oh, I like that. So, perfecto. Entonces vamos a hablar Spanglish.
Spanglish, that's perfect.
Para todo el mundo.
Para todo el mundo.
Nací en New Jersey de padre cubano. La familia de mi madre también viene de Puerto Rico. Y nada, I grew up in New Jersey. And I talked a lot all the time. I always got in trouble in school for talking.
And that's how you knew you needed to be a journalist.
And that's how I knew I needed to talk for a living. So this is pretty much what happened. Yeah, it was great, and I loved it. You know, it's a great story how I got into journalism. And my parents were divorced when I was very young. I think I was 5 when they signed the papers. My father was always in my life. And basically, I would stay with him una vez a la semana, dos veces a la semana, in his house, and we would watch, after he came home from work, El Noticiero. We would watch at 6:30 Peter Jennings, ABC. Peter Jennings, for those of you guys who remember, we didn't watch Univision y Telemundo, we watched Peter Jennings. And I was so confused. I said, Papi, why are you watching this in English? You don't speak English. Like, ¿qué te pasa? Bueno, hijo, imagínate, no tengo tiempo de leer el periódico y tampoco tengo tiempo de aprender inglés. So this is a perfect way for me to learn what's happening in the world and learn English at the same time.
And that's pretty good.
And it was incredible. From that moment on, I watched without him when I was home alone. My mother thought it was weird. I was like 8 years old watching the news. But I loved it, and I fell in love with it.
And you said something that it's really important, which is falling in love with something. And that's one of the goals that we have, is letting people know that they need to pursue their dreams and follow whatever they feel passionate about. Right?
Yeah, I really can't believe that I'm anchoring the news and reporting the news here in Orlando on WFTV, Channel 9, the ABC affiliate. I've been here since 2001. Mm-hmm. I left to go to Miami for a few years in between there, and I came back. And I've created a life for myself here, and the community's been embracing, and it's changed so much, and it's so diverse, and it's so wonderful, and I really did fall in love with what I'm doing, and every day I get up, I fall in love all over again, even with the changing times, even with the changing mediums that are out there. I think it's great.
What was your first experience as a journalist?
Bueno, mi primera experiencia fue cuando me tiraron una botella de Jack Daniels at a gas station. Or cuando me tiraron un cartón de huevo from a window in the Bronx. Or cuando, can I say urinating on me? Por poco me orinan arriba, encima, and también en el Bronx. Wow. So those are my first experiences in that I was doing stories, reportando for News 12 The Bronx, overnight. So de madrugada. Claro. Yo solo con una cámara, un carro, y un micrófono. That was my weapon, my microphone. And I was covering news overnight. And I mean, it's an inner city, so I never felt threatened. I felt safer in the Bronx at 3 o'clock in the morning than I do in parts of anywhere. Porque había gente, había movimiento, there was always someone. And then I was doing a story about this building that had drug problems, and the landlord quería poner pestillo nuevo and locks nuevo, and people didn't want me to do that story because the drug dealers wanted there to be no locks. So they threw cartons of eggs at me. Like, they threw eggs at me from, like, the 4th or 5th story. Like, get out! Get out! Y I was, like, freaked out. Para no decir mala palabra. I'm not going to curse, but I was freaked out. And then another time I was doing a story at a gas station, and some guy threw a bottle of Jack Daniels from across the gas station. And then another time I was doing another story in a complex, and someone peed on me from, like, the window of the 3rd or 4th floor. Like, get out, get away. So those are my experiences that I remember.
And how you landed up being in Florida after what was the call to action to George saying, hey, listen, no New Jersey anymore, just go down to Florida. That's where you're going to be. Basically, research and start your career, because we have to talk about the Emmys that you have.
Oh, those. Yes, those are fun too. We could talk about those. But I started my career in New Jersey working for a cable station. 24-hour operation. You did your own camera work, your own microphone, your own editing. I was 22 years old. And the job was, can you shoot your own stuff? Yeah, of course I can edit and shoot and power the camera. I didn't even know where the power button was. So I may have lied to get my first job. I learned really quickly, though. And then 3 years later, I wanted more. And my news director, Camilo Pombo at the time, wonderful man, still friends to this day, he said to me, oh, you need to get an agent, or you need to go. That's it. It's time for you to go. I'm like, what do you mean go? My family's in New Jersey. I'm working in the Bronx. It's perfect. He said, no, you need to go. I'm like, all right. So I got an agent, and they represented me, and I got a job in Orlando as a weekend evening anchor. The first Hispanic weekend evening anchor here in this market, I think.
I think you are.
Working Saturday and Sunday.
Wow.
26 years old. Había una tristeza cuando yo llegué aquí. Nunca he tenido un apartamento. I've never laundered my own clothes. No sabía ni freír un huevo. I couldn't even fry an egg. And I was like, holy crap, this is real. I remember getting in my car. Anyone listening right now or watching, there was a moment where you left home and you started your career. You became your own entrepreneur, right? And you said, vaya voy. Here I go. And I was in my car, my green Honda Civic, 4-door. His name was Marlon.
Marlon, the green Honda.
Exactly. I got into Marlon, my green Honda, with, I don't think I've ever told this story, with 10 caja and a boombox.
Wow.
All my stuff was 10 boxes and a little portable radio. And I got in my car and I was like, this is great. I waved goodbye to my parents. They were still very friendly with each other and me and the whole thing. And I was heading to Virginia to take the auto train. And I thought to myself, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, this just got real. Y me eché a llorar. I started crying in the car. Marlon saw my tears. And I was like, I have to go back home. I can't do this. And I obviously did not go back home. And then I came to Florida because that's where the job was, to answer your question. So the job was here. I got here a week before September 11th. And I'm from the north of Hoboken, so I used to see the Twin Towers from my apartment building.
And you got to cover those news being here in Florida.
Yeah, which was really weird. So I did that. I was here for 5 years, and I loved it. I covered all sorts of things. Even fui para Miami to work as a morning anchor because I wanted more. You know, you always want more, and you have to be, you know, the driver of your own bus. And I was down there for 6 years, and then they kept calling me back here to come back here and work here. The community was diverse, and I was perfect, and you know, all the things people say when they want you to take the job.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and I came back here.
And what about that first Emmy nomination? Can you talk to us about that story?
I can, and it's a great story. I was in New York. My first Emmy nomination, I was 24, and it was in the medical category. I had done a story about a 12-year-old kid who at one point needed a bone marrow transplant, and at one point was sick and had all these horrible things, and there was home video of him in the hospital, and he wrote a book to help other kids. He had already gone through it. He was on the other side of his treatment. He wrote a book. A 12-year-old writing a book. I can barely write a paragraph. He wrote a book to help other kids, and I interviewed his mom, and it was a great interview. She shaved her head when he had to shave his head for the chemo, and it was a wonderful back and forth. I got a nomination in the New York City market. En ese momento eran todos los médicos de todas las estaciones with their own medical stories. So here am I, this kid at 24, competing against these 50-year-old doctors and their medical stories. And it was at the Waldorf Astoria. Wow. And I went in a limousine. My news director hired a limo, did the whole thing. It was incredible. It was incredible. And Doreen Geiger, my producer at the time, too, we all went. And I lost. My first nomination I lost. But
at 24.
At 24, nominated in New York City
exactly.
in a talks at the Waldorf Astoria. I still can't believe it to this day. since then, I've gone to other awards and won other awards, and it's been fine.
What about the next nomination that you got in Miami, actually?
My first...
About traffic patterns.
Yes. Oh, wow. Look at you doing your homework. You guys are on it. So my second Emmy nomination and first win was traffic patterns in Miami, which, look, if you're not from Miami, you don't know what it's like to be in bad traffic.
It's crazy.
But if you're from any city listening to this or watching this, traffic is traffic.
It is.
Whatever it is, it is. And they did these new express lanes. Mm-hmm. It means you pay more and you go on these little 2 lanes and you beat all the people who didn't pay. It's like a Lincoln Tunnel, like a toll, like a bridge, but it's a highway, 95. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what? Am I going to get there faster if I pay $2 versus hanging out with all the rest of the people? And then we got the helicopter. We got a producer and a walkie-talkie in one car with a camera guy. I was in the express lanes with a camera guy and a producer. And we had walkie-talkie. We communicated. We launched at the same time. We timed it, the whole thing. I got there paying 5 minutes sooner.
Just 5.
It was a 30-minute trip for me and a 35-minute trip for the producer. Yeah. So for 2, whatever it was, because they fluctuate the price. Yes. And we had the chopper up and the video, and we edited it really quickly and turned it around for 11 o'clock that day. We did it at rush hour, by the way. And that was my first Emmy win.
And what about the next 6 Emmys that you now have?
The next 8.
Actually, it's 7 plus 1, right?
Plus 2, so now 9.
So it's not 8, 9.
Yes, wow. Since we last spoke, I've won 2 more. So, sorry, I just...
Sorry.
No, it's silly. But, yes, you know why it's important? Because people helped me win those, and it's a team effort and a group effort. And it was... I mean, we've won for newscasts. My newscast at 4 o'clock. A group of people, my co-anchor Vanessa Eccles and I, have won 3 times in a row now for Best Newscast, which best is such a silly word. We all do great work. Yeah. But clearly ours was recognized, whether it was for after what happened with the Pulse tragedy in town, where Omar Mateen shot and killed 49 people, whether it was Hurricane Matthew that we won for, and our coverage of how people picked up the pieces after. And I'm forgetting what this year's was, but I'll remember it soon. There's that. One of my favorites was winning for for the most recent one was the Puerto Rican Day Parade that we had here. Mm-hmm. It was the first one in a while in Orlando, celebrating Puerto Rican culture, which is huge here in town.
It is.
And it was the first one after Hurricane Maria. So there was a lot of emotions. I was out in the streets, going loco, up and down, talking to people and partying and celebrating because we wanted to celebrate the people. And we interviewed people who had come from Puerto Rico to now live here with their families while they figured out what was happening in Puerto Rico. So that was my favorite win. That was this past year. And in between there was tornado coverage, and I went to Moore, Oklahoma to cover devastating tornadoes and won a couple Emmys for that. And so it's been pretty intense.
Now let's talk.
Now that the boring part is over.
Actually, it's not boring. Actually, it's a very hectic career.
And I've lost plenty, by the way.
Well,
and
I've been 9.
Yes, that's true. But I've lost plenty, which goes to you just have to keep at it.
You
just got to keep going. It's just,
And keep working hard for your dreams.
Yes.
It's very important.
Yes.
And work with passion.
I think passion is so important.
Why?
Why? Because whether you are my father, who had a couple of clothing stores growing up and lifted boxes and went to New York City to buy clothes and stayed up and late and did the grunt work, whether you are a person like me who puts on a suit every day and gets to tell people what's going on. But before, I've been in the rain, I've been in, in the cold, I've been in the streets, I've done it all. Regardless of where you are in your career, you have to love what you're doing. Mm-hmm. If you're putting caps on water bottles, you should put on the cap the best you can. Because I think that you'll get recognized for your work, then you'll get promoted, then you'll become your own boss, then you'll get a better career, then you'll get who knows where that leads to. Mm-hmm. So I think passion is very important. No?
Now what about George as a human being? Let's talk a little bit about...
He's not a nice person.
Really?
No, he's fine.
It's not what I could see, but that's fine.
He's a horrible person.
So now let's talk about George and what has been George's biggest obstacle in life.
It's so funny that you ask that, because I think for all of us, our good is always our bad. Mm-hmm. So my obstacle has been I try my best to do my best. And I think that sometimes that could also be an obstacle. Because if you're trying too hard, you're forgetting maybe what's in front of you. Maybe you're like, I got to do this tomorrow, but what about today? Or I got to prepare for this interview, but what about today's interview? I feel like your good could also be your bad. Mm-hmm. Your best trait could also be your worst trait. My best